Hey everybody, welcome to the Sports Show with Woody and Les and everyone else. Woody on his way to Oakland to cover the Broncos-Raiders game. Eric Goodman filling in for Woody today. Tell everybody where they can hear you on radio as well.
Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1340, and you've been a terrific fill-in co-host, so I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
I appreciate that. From 4 to 6 every afternoon.
You got it.
All right. Before we talk about any sports whatsoever.
Yes.
Happy birthday, young man.
Thank you.
I appreciate you spending part of your day with us. I'm sure you had better things to do.
Somebody called.
Major parties all over the city.
A lot of day parties, a lot of drinking, but I decided to take a pass. Somebody called me this morning and said, happy 47th birthday. I said, don't get too excited. I'm only going to try it out for 1 year.
Is it 47?
It's 47.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am closer to the back nine than
what does that make
I need
me?
to be. You're on hole 13.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. How old are you? 50
I'm 59.
Wow.
I know I don't look it, but that's what I am.
Do you get free coffee at McDonald's yet?
I have never, ever taken advantage of anything AARP associated.
But
I've never asked for a senior discount, nothing. I refuse to believe I'm that old.
But you have the right to have a card, is that right?
I don't even carry the card.
But you have one.
I don't. One concession to age.
But you could get one.
One concession to age and one concession only.
What's that?
I wear these things because I have trouble with small print.
Well, that's okay. A lot of people have trouble with small print who are younger than you.
That's it. But then I don't feel so bad.
No, you shouldn't at all. Do you have dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon?
I do not.
You're so lying. Please.
I swear I don't.
Early bird less.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Let's jump into the show. First of all, if you want to get a hold of us, if you have a question, if you want to make a statement, tweet us at The Sports Show. Or you can Facebook us, facebook.com/The Sports Show. And if you have a good one, a creative one, we will put it up and we will read it out loud and we will say your name so you can be part of the show as well. Meantime, let me tell you all we're doing today. We're going to be talking a lot about the Broncos and Raiders and the rest of the NFL. We're going to be talking playoffs in Major League Baseball, who we like, who we don't like. And Jake Plummer's going to join us to help us in that Broncos, Raiders, NFL discussion as well. Jake's going to Skype in a little later in the show. Let's start with something that's going on right now, something that's a very hot topic that's trending heavily, and that is President's Cup golf in Asia, and a mistake that Phil Mickelson made, but he didn't exactly issue a mea culpa. He actually issued more of a threat to the opponent.
Yeah.
Did you find, after reading that story, did you find that weird that Mickelson made that mistake?
Am I surprised he made the mistake?
Yeah,
I'm very surprised he made the mistake for a guy who's been golfing as long as he has. I mean, we are talking about on this show, we are leading the show with this story. What's so unfortunate about it is very few Americans care about the President's Cup. I was telling Jimmy Orr before the start of the show, I've been fortunate, just like you, to cover major sporting events. And I can honestly tell you, the best sporting event I have ever covered by far was the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
It was so exciting. There was so much passion. And this gets little to no coverage at all. A, because we don't know too many. Maybe, Jason Day we obviously know as a golfer. We know more European golfers than golfers on the other side of the pond.
Well, we're going to learn more right now. We are talking about this today, the President's Cup. Let's go to Skype and bring in Chris Chase, a friend of the show. He's a sports writer for USA Today. Chris, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Eric. Are you surprised? Are you shocked that Phil Mickelson could make this type of error?
I'm a little bit confused about the error that he made because he says that in the PGA, you're allowed to have different balls in the bag, and if you swap out in match play, it's okay. But he says that it's international match play match, that's not the case. So, by the way, are you having trouble hearing me?
We are. We're getting you only intermittently. Should we try and do it again? Should we?
Yeah. Just call me back in 30 seconds.
We will call you back in 30 seconds. Promise that. All right, so what Mickelson did, and this is the part that I don't understand, I don't know why this would happen, he had two different balls in his bag. When you're playing in a tournament, you're only supposed to have one type of ball, one brand of ball in your bag, so you don't make the mistake of switching out models or brands of balls, because that's not allowed
But Chris
on
just
tour.
brought up a really good point. He said, if I heard him correctly, it is allowed on tour. Isn't that what he just said?
I couldn't make it out because
I believe that's what he said.
His signal was
it
intermittent.
It is allowed on tour, so I guess you can call this an honest mistake.
All right, but when you go into something like the President's Cup or the Ryder's Cup or anything other than a PGA Tour tournament, shouldn't you know those rules?
I think it's up to the captain when they have their meeting or their team dinner to go over
to
those
lay that
rules.
out there. All right, let's go back to Chris Chase, sports writer from USA Today, coming to us on Skype. So, Chris,
ask that question again to make sure I heard it correctly.
I will. Are you surprised that Phil Mickelson had 2 brands of balls in his bag?
That's what's so stunning to me, is the fact that Mickelson was playing with, I don't know whether he's playing with I know he plays with Callaways, but I don't know whether he's playing with like a burner, a new version of the Callaway burner. What do I have right here? The X2 Hots. I don't know what he's playing with. It's stunning to me, though, that he has a different ball in his bag. You would figure if you're a Titleist guy and you're playing the Pro V1Xs, you would just have Pro V1Xs in your bag. Why would you have anything else? You're not going to have a DXT or another kind of ball. So that is stunning to me. I tend to think that if anyone is to blame for this, and I don't think we're going to hear this because Mickelson's not going to throw him under the bus, I think this is probably on Bones McKay, Phil's caddy, because he's in charge of getting the bag ready. He's the one who's supposed to, clean the. Mickelson carries 4 wedges sometimes, so he's the one who's got to be pulling them out of the bag, getting the wedges in. Mickelson doesn't play with a driver; he has to do it. So it's surprising to me for many people.
Chris, let me get
wait. Let me interrupt. Chris, still an intermittent signal. We're going to call you. We're going to get you on the phone instead of Skype, and we'll continue this right now. Okay? So stay on Skype. We're going to call you on the phone. You'll talk on the phone, and we'll still see your picture.
Great.
All right. What were you going to say?
Well, I wanted to ask him just for some clarification about the PGA Tour. Are you allowed to switch your golf balls out? Because there's some golf balls out there. I'm as amateur of a golfer as they come, but there's some balls that are meant for distance. A balata ball is meant more for feel when you're around the greens. So I would want to know from Chris, if I heard him correctly, maybe I did not hear him correctly, on the PGA Tour, are you allowed to switch out your golf balls? Chris also mentioned with the caddy, he would put it on the caddy, although Phil Mickelson isn't going to call out his caddy. I would say, did the team captain, when they had their meeting, come out and say, make sure that you understand the rules?
Why don't you ask Chris that right now?
Chris, can you hear me?
Chris, can you hear us? Hello, Chris.
Where is this golf tournament again?
This is in Asia. I believe it's in South Korea.
I bet I'd be willing to bet that Kim Jong-il watches this show and is messing with the feed. I bet he has hacked into the Denver Post feed just so information doesn't get out there.
He doesn't hit me as being that smart, Eric.
He doesn't hit me as a guy who gets a very good haircut.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think he and Mark Davis go to the same barber.
I think.
Do we have Chris? Okay.
This picture behind us, by the way,
Chris, you got us now?
Sums up the connection.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, no, you sound great now, Chris. So, Eric, go ahead and ask Chris the question you want to ask.
So I wanted to make sure that I heard you correctly. On the PGA Tour, are you allowed to switch out your golf balls?
This is what I understood from watching Mickelson's press conference today. It wasn't immediately clear to me, and I didn't have a chance to look at my God, how long is it? The 400-page rule book with all these arcane rules. But it seems to me that he believes the rules to be different. Now, that doesn't change the fact that it's absurd for him to have 2 golf balls in the bag. I'd be surprised if he ever plays with 2 golf balls. Although knowing Mickelson and knowing the way he likes to get different loft on the clubs and different spins, maybe there is some method to that madness. But that was one thing I was a little unsure of. What I am positive about is, and I heard you all talking about this, the captains are and this is Jay Haas as the captain. It's sort of his responsibility, if there are different rules, to get on his players about it. And it's the players. It reminds me a lot of Dustin Johnson back in the PGA Championship a couple of years ago, I think at Whistling Straits, when everything was a bunker, and he didn't realize that he was in a bunker because he thought it was just some fescue, and he grounded his club, and he got a penalty for that. And you know what? That's on Dustin. I mean, it was his fault. He didn't know the rules. So even though Bones McKay might have put the wrong ball in the bag, even though Mickelson might have put the wrong ball down, the blame lies with Mickelson. I mean, you can blame Haas, you can blame the caddy, but at the end of the day, it's Mickelson's responsibility to know the rules and to play by the rules.
Well, Chris, at the end of the day yesterday, Phil got up on the microphone, and he still trash talked the international team. That was kind of shocking.
It was so good. You know, I don't think there's any athlete whose public persona is more at odds with the way he is thought of in the media or by the press. And I've never had a chance to talk to Mickelson, but people I know that have and have covered him for a long time, they always say he's kind of a prickly guy, that he is not this wholesome, all-American guy that the Callaway and all of his sponsors would lead you to believe. You know, he's a guy who we know loves to bet. He loves to kind of, needle people. And this was a great line. He basically said, we spotted their two best golfers, who were Jason Day and Adam Scott. We spotted them 2 holes because there was the 1-hole penalty that was incurred when they had the ball, and then there was another 1 hole that they lost because Mickelson wasn't allowed to play the hole, which is a whole other story. And they won. I believe Jason Day's birdie ended up winning that hole because Zach Johnson, who was Mickelson's partner, got a par. So they spotted them too, and Mickelson says, he says it in this little impish way with a little half grin. He says, well, we spotted them too. They're 2 best players, and they only got a half for the match. I'm just saying. And it was a great line. And, I don't believe in bulletin board material, but I think that it'll be a nice soundbite for the international team to play at dinner tonight or, whenever it is in South Korea right now.
Oh, no doubt about it. Hey, Chris, as always, appreciate your time. Twitter handle?
It's Chris Chase at Chris Chase FTW.
Easy enough. And usatoday.com. Hey, Chris, thanks again.
My apologies about the phone, guys.
No problem. We'll fix it for next time. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
All right, and that segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac of Park Meadows, Colorado's #1 Cadillac dealer.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
The Sports Show with Woody and Les. Eric Goodman filling in for Woody today. Let's talk some Broncos Raiders here. I want to read you the definition of a trap game, okay?
Go ahead.
All right. Trap game. A game played before or after a tough or a rival opponent. Teams have a tendency to look past an opponent preparing for the following week's game, meaning they would look past the Raiders to the Browns, or have a letdown after beating a tough or a rival opponent. In this case, that would be the Vikings, if you consider them a tough or a rival opponent. Is this a trap game? Because to me, it doesn't fit the definition.
Who came up with the topic?
Who came up with the what's the difference? I'm asking if it's a trap game.
No, because it doesn't fit any of those definitions.
Right.
Is my point.
There are some people out there who are saying this is a trap game,
It's
but
not a
I'm
trap
not sure
game.
they understand the definition of
A trap game is if the Patriots are next, then it becomes a trap game because you're overlooking the Raiders to get to the Patriots.
Well, I wouldn't even call Minnesota a rival or a terribly tough opponent. If it was the Green Bay Packers last week instead of Minnesota Vikings, I'd say okay. But the Vikings, they might not be a playoff team even.
There is nothing about this game. And when I say nothing, I don't want to use an absolute. There is zero amount of trap game in this particular game.
Well, no.
Now if the schedule was flipped and the Raiders were next week and the Browns were on Sunday, then maybe you can make the case if the Raiders have been good over the last couple of years. But the Raiders have not been that good, and the Browns have been terrible. So no, it doesn't fit the definition at all.
And here's another reason. They're playing the Raiders this week.
Right.
And say what you will about a rivalry or a non-rivalry these days. It's still the Raiders. It's still a division team. And as Chris Harris told the Denver Post, they still treat the division games as if they're playoff games. So they're going to be plenty up for this game. This is not a trap game in any way, shape, or form.
Do you believe it is good for the NFL for the Raiders to be good?
Yes.
So do I.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Merchandise, baby. Merchandise sold. Money in everybody's pockets.
Yep.
Let's go to the phone and go right to Troy Rank, who covers the Broncos and the NFL for the Denver Post. Troy, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Good to be here.
Troy, let's first talk about health. What's this offensive line going to look like on Sunday in Oakland?
Very similar to the one last week, actually identical, with Michael Schofield starting at right tackle and Ryan Harris at left tackle. But Gary Kubiak did indicate he's going to rotate some guys through. Evan Mathis and Ryan Harris have been dealing with some slight injuries, and so expect to see Max Garcia get some snaps at guard, and also Tyler Columbus to get a few snaps at tackle.
I asked Gary Kubiak about the possibility of would you be willing to rotate some guys on your offensive line?
Sounds like that might be what they're...
Kubiak has done it in the past when he was with the Texans, but on a very limited scale. Bill Belichick did it last year in the opener, throughout last year at times. And when I say for the opener, I mean last year's opener. He's done it in every game this year. When I look at the 4 offensive tackles they have on this team, overall they're about a 5.5 to a 6.5. I don't see a huge difference between these guys. Would it make sense to rotate all 4 tackles, not every single series, and then maybe rotate in Max Garcia at the very least at center to give some of these offensive linemen a blow and to get some of these other guys some experience?
Yeah, I would disagree with that for the zone blocking scheme, Eric. Communication is so important, and to have that many variables on a consistent basis is not great for continuity. I do like your idea of getting them some snaps, getting them some real-time exposure, finding out what you have, and finding that out before some injury necessitates a move. I would not mess with center at all. Max Garcia hasn't shown he can play center yet, even though he played it in college. And Paradis, frankly, has been playing as well as any lineman outside of Evan Mathis, who's graded out the best over 4 weeks. So I like the idea of moving guys in, especially with these older players that are hurting. But to copy what Belichick does is dangerous because he does it in a different way. They do schematically, they do things differently. It's just not like the Patriots do it, so the Broncos should do it. It's not a blueprint that most teams can follow. But I like the idea of getting guys some snaps, so they are much more prepared if you do need them for a half or a game.
Yeah, I'm all for that too, Troy. But Eric, I got to tell you, I disagree with that as well. As long as the Broncos are trying to find some consistency on that offensive line right now,
I'm not suggesting
it's a problem right now.
I'm not suggesting they should do that. I'm just throwing it out there. Doesn't make any sense.
Eric wants to get them all varsity letters, apparently.
Troy, do you see this offense taking yet another step and maybe even a big step forward? It's going to be the same offensive line against Oakland as it was last week against Minnesota, and they played fairly well. The running backs are now healthy, and Ronnie Hillman had a pretty good game last week. And Peyton Manning seemed really angry with himself. I think he's going to come out better. Do you see this offense becoming yet even better this week?
Yeah, the key's first down. They've been abysmal on first down, and that still traces back in part to the running game. But better on first down, better in the first quarter. I believe, if memory serves, they have 9 points in the first quarter. They've got to get off to better starts, and so they're not forced to have to come up with some great drive with the alarms blaring at the end of the game, especially on the road. That's not a great way to pursue a victory, is trying to come up with long drives on the road. But I agree with you, Les, that Manning is coming off a less than effective performance in his own eyes. I believe he'll play better. He traditionally has played really well against the Raiders. He's never lost to the Raiders since he's been with the Broncos. But they need to be better on first down. And that goes back to running. I think you're going to see double tight ends again. That's common in this offense. I think you'll see Virgil Green and Owen Daniels on the field at the same time for 2 reasons. One, they run better out of that formation, and 2, the Raiders haven't been able to guard tight ends at all this season. So that creates some unpredictability that makes the Raiders make choices.
Mike Pritchard came on my radio show on Monday, and he said something that many would consider to be very controversial. He was talking about Peyton Manning. I asked him what he thought about how Manning has played through the first quarter of the season, and he very strongly said Manning's role in this offense is to be a game manager and just don't screw things up. That was his quote. Just don't screw things up. Now, on the surface, you'd say we're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback here.
I hate that.
Okay? In reality, we're talking about a guy with 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a number of them costly, and a rating of 80. I'm guessing you disagree with what Pritch had to say, but do you disagree or vehemently disagree?
Well, I see his point, Eric. I just think there's games where, like, I compared to a pitcher, like, if he doesn't have it, then there are games they need to be more conservative with this defense and let the defense win the game for him if Manning just doesn't have it that day. Where I would disagree that he's not a game manager, because there are games where I do believe, as in with Kansas City, where he went out and won the game for him.
Well, Detroit,
Detroit,
you can say that about all 4 games. Game managers don't do what he did at the end of all 4 of these games, whether with sustained drives that ate up clock or drives that led to field goals or winning touchdowns. I just, the whole game manager thing, when I hear it, you know, next to Peyton Manning's name, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to him, but there are games where he needs to probably recognize in the play calling that if you don't have it that day, you know, live to fight another day. Like the interception before the half against the Vikings, he made a bad read, which we almost never see from Manning, misread the coverage, and the guy dropped off. He looked like he read it as a different kind of coverage, and it ended up being the cover 4 where the linebacker dropped in, and that's not a mistake Peyton makes. So that's what I'm just saying. There's going to be times with this defense where if you're up 24-10 late in the third quarter and you're on your own 8-yard line, maybe you're a little more conservative. That's all. Does that make him a game manager? I'm saying in certain possessions you have to manage expectations because of this defense. There's no reason to compromise this defense by taking unnecessary risks on your own side of the field.
You and Les talked about the Kansas City game, and maybe I saw a completely different game than everybody else out there. When Manning kind of went to his offense in the second part of the second quarter, he was terrific. He looked like the Manning of old. 2-minute drill at the end of the fourth quarter, he was absolutely terrific. As I've said all along on the radio show, you're not going to see the old Peyton Manning, but you will see flashes of the old Peyton Manning. In that Kansas City game, we saw flashes at the end of the second quarter. We saw flashes with the 2-minute drill. In between all of that, honestly, he really wasn't that good. In the second half, he completed 50% of his passes.
I'm not arguing with you on that, and I don't think Troy would either, although I don't mean to speak for you, Troy, but there is an inconsistency to Peyton's game right now. There's no doubt about it.
But everybody's talking about Peyton Manning like, wow, look what he did in the Kansas City game. Look what Tim Tebow used to do in the final 2 minutes. He was magical. And I'm not comparing Manning to Tim Tebow, but that's what that game felt like to me.
Please don't do that, ever.
That's what Tim Tebow was. He was awful for 58 minutes, and in the final 2 minutes, he was nothing short of terrific for at least 6-7 games. But honestly, that's what the Kansas City game was to me.
The irony to all this, to me, is isn't this how John Elway played his whole career? In part because of conservative play calling by Dan Reeves. But John would throw a couple interceptions, they'd get down, and then when he had to play his best, he did. And that's what everyone remembers about him. Manning has created such an expectation, partly framed by fantasy league numbers and his own Nintendo numbers, that when he struggles, it's glaring. Like, how could he throw an interception? How could he have a 1-to-1 pick to touchdown ratio? And again, I agree with Les. He's been inconsistent. It doesn't mean he's been bad. He's dealing with some inconsistencies. And if you're going to be inconsistent, the best thing to have is to be able to play your best when it matters most.
I agree.
If he was playing his best drive in the first quarter and he's throwing that pick to Anthony Barr in the fourth quarter, we'd be like, oh, what's wrong with Manning? He's done. He can't make a play in the clutch. So as long as he's still doing that, to me, deserves some benefit of the doubt because he's still finding a way to win. That's like a pitcher at the end of his career. He's pitching 7 innings. He gives up 3 runs, but they win 3-2. 4-3. So what does it matter? That's the equation. We're not going to see Manning of 2013 or of the first half of last year, but they can win a Super Bowl with this defense. This is a championship caliber defense. So he just needs to do his part. That's all. He doesn't need to go throw 45 touchdowns. That's not necessary with his defense.
What you're saying is you're just looking for a quality start. 6, 7 innings, 3 runs.
You pay,
and that should be good enough.
Just do your job.
All right.
His job's changed. But I guarantee you guys, there will be games where we look back and say Manning won that game. Now, that was pretty much every game he's been here since, other than the Chiefs game last year, that he had to win every game. He had to play well or they wouldn't win. Now, out of 16 games, he might have to play well, like, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He might have to do that 3 times this year for them to win. So this defense has changed the whole way you should view this team.
So Troy, Les bet me before the game a slice of pizza and a brownie that I could not fire you up. And I win. I won. I know.
Troy?
I know Troy can't see, but he knows there's pizza and brownies here.
Yeah, Troy, if you come back, you can have some Papa John's. That's our payment to you for joining the show today. Is that all right?
Nice. I like it.
Troy, thanks, Troy, and
Thanks, Troy.
And have a good trip to Oakland, all right?
I appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Troy Rank of the Denver Post. All of our live guests appear courtesy of Papa John's. The day after every Avalanche win. It should be today, but it's not. Ooh. You get 50% off your regular menu price online order. You have to use the promo code AVS, AVS. Go to the new papajohns.com and use the promo code AVS.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Seattle wins that controversial game against Detroit last weekend. Do you believe after watching that, Seattle's back on track?
I don't know if they're necessarily back on track. They're still a very good football team. Did they get lucky that the call went their way? No question about it. But you'd rather take luck over skill all day. It was a referee's mistake. Again, you could look at the Denver Broncos right now and say there's a chance if the ball doesn't bounce their way, right, they could be at the very least 1-3. Great teams have the ball bounce their way. They capitalize on their opportunities, so you give the Broncos credit for that, no question about it. But when you're in the midst of a potential championship season, the ball is going to bounce your way more than a few times.
I don't think they're a great team, Eric.
I'm not suggesting that.
I think they're a good team that might be getting better, but I don't think they're on track. I really don't. I think you're starting to see something chipping away at this vaunted Seattle Seahawks team that's gone to the last 2 Super Bowls.
It's not the vaunted Seahawks team. It's their defense.
They should have lost that game.
Yes.
They only won because of a refereeing error.
I agree.
Okay? Number 2, that was at home.
Bingo.
That was a home game
against
a Detroit team that has yet to win a game all year long. It's not a good Detroit team. We saw them up close against the Broncos. It's just not a good Detroit team. They're still not a good road team. They have struggles on the road, and their all-pro running back is maybe in the midst of a season where he's not going to be healthy all year. So I don't think the Seattle team. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think it might be as a wild card team, but I wouldn't be surprised.
You don't think they'll win their division?
No, I think Arizona has a real good shot at winning that division.
All
right. I just there's something missing. A few things missing from this Seattle team right now. Now, if they go out and they win their next 2 games, and they're tough games, I know one of them, they're in Cincinnati this weekend.
That's going to be a tough one.
And then they have Carolina at home, an undefeated Carolina Panthers team. If they go out and they win these next 2 games, then I'll say, yeah, they're back on track. I might even say it after if they beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati. But right now, they don't look like the same Seattle team to me.
But before you bury them, look at what has happened to the Patriots when they've won Super Bowls. 2-2,
sure.
1-3.
I'm not burying them.
What happened?
I'm just saying they don't look like the same team right now.
I get that. I'm not suggesting that the Indianapolis Colts are going to make a run because right now they look like an unmade bed.
Well, but they have the luxury of playing in a terrible division.
I understand that, but last season they started 0-2. Now what's their record?
3-2.
3-2. So suddenly, even though they're not playing great teams,
With their backup quarterback,
I'm not going to
too.
bury a team a quarter of the way into the season. Talk to me after you're 12 games in, and then I can make a better evaluation. Cam Chancellor working his way back in. Who knows if Marshawn Lynch is going to wind up being healthy again? How did Marshawn Lynch do in that game?
Which game?
The one that they won with the ball knocked out. He didn't play.
He didn't play, yeah.
And that's my point.
That's why I said he's not healthy.
And that's my point. So if he played, it may not even come down to that.
Well, but it might be one of those seasons for him, as I said.
Could very
where
well
he has
be.
trouble staying on the field.
Needs to eat more Skittles.
There's a story out there. 3 NFL executives were asked, who would you take for one game?
Yes.
Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers?
Mm-hmm.
2 of the 3 said Tom Brady. So would I.
So would I.
Yeah. And for me, it's a very simple thing.
Mm-hmm.
Big games, who's better?
Right.
Aaron Rodgers might be the best quarterback in the game right now, but who's the best big game quarterback in the game right now?
Right.
You look at Tom Brady's playoff record, if you want to talk big games, he's, I believe, 21-8.
He is. That's the exact
21-8
Yep.
with 4 Super Bowl wins and this close to 2 more Super Bowl wins. You know what Aaron Rodgers is in the playoffs? He's 6-5. 1 Super Bowl win.
Right.
I'm taking Tom Brady. Now, if I have to settle for Aaron Rodgers, I will.
Right.
But if you make me choose one or the other, I'm going Brady.
But for 16 games, I take Aaron Rodgers.
Why?
Because I think he's the more talented quarterback. Over a 16-game season, I'll take my chances easily with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
You know what? 3 years ago, 16 games, I take Peyton Manning over Tom Brady. But 1 game to win, I'd always take Tom Brady.
All right, let's talk about another quarterback. Should the 100% rule be applied to Andrew Luck, meaning you only play him if he's 100%?
No, well, it's not for me to decide, and it's not for me to
Oh, it
tell,
is right now.
Listen, at the end of the day, I've never criticized somebody when it comes to injury. I don't know somebody's pain threshold, and I'm not trying to be politically correct on this. I don't know somebody's pain threshold, and I don't know how serious the injury is. But over the course of an NFL season, you will never be 100%. It's impossible because you get hit all the time. You might be 95%, but you're never going to feel great after a couple of games.
So the close to 100% rule. Because, look, nobody wants to sit if they're close to 100%. Nobody wants to sit. Players don't want to sit, and coaches don't want their players to sit if they can go out on the field and play.
Who made this
that
comment?
might mean 75%, it might mean 85%, it might mean 95%.
This was Pagano making this comment, correct?
I'm not sure.
It wasn't Andrew Luck. It was Pagano. What's interesting is...
No, I'm just asking you.
But LaShawn...
When would you or would you not play Andrew Luck? Because I have a definitive answer to this.
Well, let me get to my point. LaShawn McCoy came out and said, I'm not going to play unless I'm 100%.
He's got a bad hamstring. And if you play a guy on a bad hamstring that's not 100% healthy, those things could last you all season long.
And they probably will.
I've seen it last 2-3 seasons at a time.
Right. It probably will. Again, once you get injured, it's very difficult to heal up.
Here's the deal with Luck. This Indianapolis Colts team, and I said this on the air, and both Woody and Mark Kisler disagreed with me, but they proved it again last night.
I disagree with you.
They can, without even hearing it,
right.
They can win with Matt Hasselbeck at quarterback.
No way.
Against those division teams.
Against the division teams, yes.
Get Andrew Luck healthy. You're going to win that division. Get him healthy. You've shown you could beat those divisional teams. They're 3-2. They've got a semi-comfortable lead in the division already. Make sure Andrew Luck is healthy in the playoffs because you're not going to win with Matt Hasselbeck in the playoffs. Forget about seeding. Don't worry about where you're seeded 1 through 6. Just win the division, get into the playoffs, and if you have to do it with Hasselbeck, do it with Hasselbeck. Make sure Luck is healthy for the playoffs.
Before everybody wants to have a quarterback controversy in Indianapolis, let's look at the 3 teams that Andrew...
You think that's really happening?
No, but for the sake of this conversation. Matt Hasselbeck in his last 2 games, quoting him, he was on his deathbed this week. That's a quote. He was on his deathbed this week in the hospital.
He had flu.
So did Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan came out and played great too. The point is, Andrew Luck played a tougher schedule in the 3 games that he played. Matt Hasselbeck did not. So before
That's what I'm saying.
Right. So
You
before
can win that
everybody,
division with Hasselbeck.
right, before everybody anoints, Hasselbeck, a 40-year-old, should be your quarterback moving forward. Let's see how Hasselbeck plays against the Patriots.
All right, that segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac of Park Meadows.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price, and you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more, because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Sports Show with Woody and Les and everyone else. Eric Goodman filling in for Woody, who's on his way to the Raiders-Broncos game. Let's talk some baseball. Should the Kansas City Royals, be in panic mode right now?
You mean after one game?
Playing against the Houston Astros.
You mean after one game?
Yeah.
You mean after one game?
Well, no, I mean,
after one game,
should they worry heavily about losing this series to the Houston Astros?
The Houston Astros have the best pitching staff in the American League. That's the reason why they might have some concern, but not after losing one game. It's one game.
Houston has a better starting rotation than Kansas City.
Yes.
And just beat Kansas City's ace in the first game.
I get it.
Kansas City has the better bullpen, even without Greg Holland.
Okay.
Kansas City still has maybe the best bullpen in all of baseball. However, this is why Kansas City should worry about the Houston Astros.
Okay.
Because the Houston Astros are last year's Kansas City Royals.
I would agree.
A team riding a wave going into the playoffs. A team that plays really good defense. A team that knows how to move runners along and that can hit the long ball when it needs to. In fact, they relied on the long ball, Houston did. But here's the main reason why. Houston is just hot, and playing loosely and winning on the road.
Yep.
And then you get Keuchel at home.
Right.
Houston, with Keuchel on the mound at home, didn't lose this year. Keuchel won every game at home. I think Kansas City's in a world of hurt.
I think the Houston Astros, to me, are the favorites to win the ALCS.
All right, chill. Jeez. All right, so the Rangers, and I should say as we speak, the Rangers are playing the Toronto Blue Jays in Game 2. But not knowing what the score is or how deep into the game they are.
Last I checked, the Blue Jays are up 4-3 in the sixth.
Okay, can the Texas Rangers hold on to outlast the Toronto Blue Jays? If Adrian Beltre cannot play the rest of this series, and he's not playing in Game 2 because of a lower back strain.
I think the Blue Jays are the better team anyway. I just think David Price is, I hate to throw this out there, and you can make the case for Clayton Kershaw, and I know we're going to have Alana Rizzo on the show. Clayton Kershaw and David Price are baseball's version of Peyton Manning. Great in the regular season, but when the playoffs come, not so great.
Couldn't resist the shot at Peyton, could you?
I love Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Don't come at me for stating facts.
If my rotation
it's not my opinion, it's fact.
If my rotation was Clayton Kershaw, David Price, and Peyton Manning, I'd be pretty good.
In the regular season, you're doing great.
Texas can hold on, even without Beltre, who hits in the middle of that lineup and is a leader in the clubhouse. And here's why. Texas won without having pitched Cole Hamels yet. Texas won on the road against Toronto. Texas beat Toronto's ace in David Price.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Yeah, and I think they can. They're going to be holding on by their fingernails, but they can. I'm with you. I think Toronto is a World Series favorite. I think they're one of the 2 top teams in all of baseball. And I think when they go down to Texas, Toronto, the best hitting team in the majors, is going to mash the ball in that hitter's ballpark.
Right.
But if Hamels and the Rangers can get by Game 2, I think Toronto's in big trouble. Did you see the video from our old hometown, Chicago, after the Cubs won the play-in game? Did you think that was a little too much?
No.
I mean, people were streaming into the streets.
Yep.
The bars were going crazy. You'd think that they'd declare the end of World War II.
Right.
And we won.
Yeah.
You didn't think it was too much?
No.
Why
Not with all
a play-in game?
Not with all. Do you know that
3 series away from a World Series?
Do you know that the Chicago Cubs first of all, they haven't won since 1908.
Yeah, and they haven't been to the World Series since '45, but they've been to the playoffs. I mean, '08, were they in the playoffs? '07 or '08? It's not like it's been like 40 years.
Okay, since 1909, okay?
Yeah.
The Chicago Cubs have advanced only one time.
Won a series. in the postseason.
Have won one series.
Yeah.
Over the last 107 years.
Well, yeah, but my
That's
point
a
is
reason
they
to
haven't even won a
celebrate.
series. They haven't even won a series. They won a play-in game.
And whether you want to call it a series or not, at least they get 5 more games. They might get their teeth kicked in by the St. Louis Cardinals,
Hey, look,
their rival.
I grew up a Cubs fan.
So did I.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't get it to this point. I don't get it to the point where you're going into the streets and acting like you just won the World Series.
When you've been wandering the desert for 107 years and you see a small puddle of water, you celebrate like that.
You dive in head first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, I get it. We got Jake? No? No way. Oh, okay. Let's go to a commercial. John Elway Cadillac, right here.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Show with Woody and Les and everyone else. Eric Goodman filling in for Woody today. We have Jake on Skype.
Yep.
Let's go right to it. Let's bring in the former quarterback of the Denver Broncos, the Arizona Cardinals, and my alma mater, Arizona State University. Jake Plummer. Hey, Jake, how are you?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing just great. You know, obviously, Jake, we're debating the Broncos offense and Peyton Manning. I want to start with this. When Gary Kubiak was signed, Gary Kubiak was also your offensive coordinator when you were with the Broncos, and he brought in his offense, and I, along with others, called it the Jake Plummer offense. Did you know that Peyton Manning would not be comfortable in this offense? Did you think that there was a little craziness to this idea of implementing this?
A little bit. It was kind of hard to see how they would mesh and how that would all unfold. But when you run that offense, I know one thing: you have to be extremely mobile. You have to be able to go get under center, run the stretch, go all the way, 8 yards deep, get running back the ball to make it really effective offense. The thing that was hard for me to contemplate was Peyton at his age, knowing how he moves, how he would boot to his left, because what Gary loved to do with me was boot me to my left, and I think that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're a little older and never really been asked to do that in Peyton's case. But he's still Peyton Manning, and when you've got the ball in his hands with the game on the line, I don't think there's anybody that would pick anybody else.
Jake, Eric Goodman here. I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Eric?
Good. Thanks for asking. I'm going to ask about your guy, talking about Brock Osweiler, another Arizona State guy. I am not suggesting Osweiler should replace Peyton Manning, so I want to get that out of the way. But eventually, if
Preemptive strike here.
No,
huh?
I'm being serious.
Okay.
But eventually, if Brock Osweiler does become the guy, do you see him on the field as the way you saw yourself on the field?
Well, no. He's a taller quarterback with a really, really big arm, but he still can do some of the similar things. I mean, he can move and roll out to his left, to his right. The play that's the most deadly play in that offense, you got the run game going and you run the stretch and you pull the ball as a quarterback. You get the defense flowing. You got the safety, the corners, everybody thinking run to the right, and you slip your receiver past those safeties and step up, launch it back across the field. Now, those are 40-yard throws when they complete them, but when you're throwing them from the right hash all the way to the left number, it's like a 58, 60 throw. So those are big. I think Brock has the option to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing him run this offense, but we all know he's got to wait his turn and sit behind a legend Hall of Famer, and it's a tough place to be in, but he's got his head on his shoulders right. He's staying prepared. He knows that he's learning day to day watching Peyton play. And at this point, the Broncos want to win. They want to win games, and however they can make it happen, that's what they need to keep doing. With Osweiler getting his turn, he'll be ready to go, though. I know that.
Jake, you played behind a zone blocking scheme. When you look at the Broncos running backs right now through 4 games, is this a case where the holes aren't there because the offensive line is learning a way to work together, or is this a case of the running backs just not breaking tackles and the holes are there?
Well, the holes are there. I mean, they're not going to be big, huge, gaping holes. That's not the case across the league, really. Rarely do you see big holes like that. But what happens is, as they continue to play together, as they continue to get more experience, you got a young guy playing center and Paratus. You're going to learn with those guys, the vets next to him, how to lean on them, how to feel them during the game. And a good running back's going to also get that feeling, his linemen, and trust them. The holes aren't going to be huge, but what it is when you get that flow going, is making the cut on time, heading north, making those hard, tough-nosed yards that you got to get. And it's not about breaking 80-yarders or breaking 20-yarders. It's about staying on table, staying on 2nd and 6, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2. Those are all manageable situations that keep the offense on the field or allow the offense a chance to stay on the field. Now, when they don't stay on the field, that defense is going to get out there quick, get the ball back for them. So it's the team effort we're seeing right now. The games are like they were years back. It's time to evolve and get past that as a Broncos fan and enjoy this team that's playing right now, playing hard for each other. The defense wants to win bad because number 18 wants to get another ring. They want to get one for Mr. Bolin. They're playing hard as a team, and Boobs is what kind of coach that's going to bring those guys together, hard for each other. We're sitting here talking about a 4-0 team that easily could be 2-2 or even 1-3. So it's a great spot for them to be in. These early season victories, although not perfect, not pretty, not the way you wanted them to go as a fan, they're wins, and they're getting better each week. They're going about it in a quiet way. They're not talking about it. They're just getting back to work each week and get ready to face tough opponents. I'm excited about where this team's headed.
Jake, let me ask you about number 18. One more question about him. It's a multiple choice question. Tell me why we're seeing a lack of consistency in Peyton's game right now. Is it because of the offensive line? Is it because the running game isn't effective, which has something to do with the offensive line, I would guess? Is it a new scheme? Is it Peyton's age? Or is it all of the above?
It's probably all of the above. It's hard for me to sit here and say what it is without looking at the film and going over and over it from all angles, sitting in those rooms to see what they can do better. I know that you got a guy that's going to do everything he can possible to win ball games. Peyton Manning wants to win. Peyton wants to be the guy to take the team to another level. But what's happening is all these parts are coming together. And the offensive line is inexperienced. This is now only their 4th game. They've only played 4 games altogether. You got running backs that are pretty much unproven that are getting the feel for those guys. And Peyton's age, it's early in the season. He looks pretty good when he's getting his feet under him and stepping up in the pocket. He's made some huge throws when it matters. And you know me, I don't care what you do in the first quarter, second quarter, even the third quarter. Sometimes the fourth quarter, it's what you do with the ball in your hands to make plays. And 18 is going to continue to give you opportunities to win ball games. And he's going to get more opportunities with the defense he has. It's playing hard for the team, playing hard for him. Very balanced, hard defense to go against. So it could be all the above, but, we could sit and analyze it and look at all the numbers and stats and all that. To me, they're W's in the column that matters. They're 4-0, and that's all I think about.
Here's the most important thing I want to talk to you about, having nothing to do with football. How was your handball game?
Well, I'm playing huge. For a couple years there, I couldn't play. I was on the mid, but I'm playing now. Just played doubles with Vic Perez, who's one of the best players in the country in my tournament up in North Idaho. And tomorrow I'm going to meet up with some Sun Devil handball players. They got a little team forming down here. We're going to play some 2-all outdoors, beautiful Arizona sunshine, and get a good sweat and chase a little blue ball around. So the handball game is there. I'll be playing that till I'm dead and gone. And, it's always there for me. Thanks for asking about it.
And Jake, can people follow you either on radio, TV? Are you doing any writing? Where can we find you regularly? Twitter? What?
Well, I have my Twitter account is @Snakes Takes, and Snakes Takes is also the name of my podcast that we do weekly. I had a couple Broncos on there, Omar Bolden and Osweiler, CJ Anderson. They've been gracious enough to come on the show. And then I've been doing a little piece for Sports Illustrated. I write a little QB analysis. I put a positive spin on things, show you what they could have done or maybe what they could have done to help the QB on an interception. Just showing you different things from my perspective. Maybe you don't feel like I know what to talk about, but it's just my experience, my knowledge. I'm just having fun with it, getting to watch football. Hey, great excuse to tell the wife, hey, I got to go watch these games.
You're a media guy. Who'd have thought it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Hey, no, I'm not. You're a media guy. See, I'm in Arizona having fun, doing stuff. You're sitting in a studio. I'll never be part of the media, but I'll help you guys out when you need me.
Appreciate that. When the Cardinals play the Broncos in the Super Bowl, we're coming back to you, all right?
Right on. I love it. That'd be a great matchup.
All right, Jake, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That's Jake Plummer.
I love it how former athletes who are involved with the media always try and say, I'm not involved with the media.
Not
Chad
me,
Brown does it
you.
more than anybody.
Yeah, it's funny. All right, that segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac, Colorado's #1 Cadillac dealer.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
NFL games? Yeah. Oh, okay. Hey, Sports Show, Woody and Les, Eric Goodman right here. Where are you on radio again?
Mile High Sports Radio.
Yeah.
AM 1340, 4 to 6, afternoon drive with Zach Fogg.
Okay, you want to do some mailbag here?
I would love to do some
Because people
mailbag.
are writing us. They're asking us questions.
Are they?
We need to help them.
Okay.
Yes. All right, let's go here. From Bax 1939, the return of the big bad Wolfman, meaning Derek Wolfe. Can the Broncos defense get even better? Yeah, I think it can.
They're going to get a lot better against the run.
Yeah, because a lot of people will tell you, in fact, people on that Broncos defense will tell you that Derek Wolfe is one of the best on that side of the ball when it comes to defending the run, if not the best.
Pro Football Focus, I'm not suggesting it's the Bible or the end-all be-all, but Derek Wolfe was ranked as the third best defensive end against the run last year.
Wow, in all of football.
All of football.
All right, next. We've got KJ Raden. Is today the day Kershaw breaks through and shows his brilliance in the postseason play?
I hope so, because I love to watch great players play well. And it's disappointing to me when guys are so great through the regular season and then they crash and burn when the pressure is really there. David Price is a good example. Clayton Kershaw is a good example. Clayton Kershaw was dominant against the Atlanta Braves in 2013. But the last two times he's been in the playoffs, he's been very un-Clayton Kershaw-like. If you want to be considered great, you have to perform great in the postseason. Who would you rather have, Madison Bumgarner or Clayton Kershaw?
Wow. You going to make me choose?
Well,
I want Bumgarner right now. He's shown he can do it.
Right now.
Yeah.
Who do you want May 15th starting a game?
Now, wait a second. You're the one who just a few minutes ago said Clayton Kershaw is baseball's version of Peyton Manning.
He is.
Great in the regular season, not in the postseason.
April 15th, May 15th, June 15th, I want Clayton Kershaw.
Sure.
October 15th, I want Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, I'm with you. Here's the good news for Kershaw. His last 4 losses in the playoffs, I think he's got a 1-5 record in the playoffs.
His ERA is...
The last 4 losses were all against the same team, the St. Louis Cardinals. He ain't playing the Cardinals here. He's playing a team he has dominated throughout his career in the New York Mets. Dominant. I don't think he's ever lost to the New York Mets.
Yeah, but he hasn't faced this Mets lineup.
Right, Cespedes and those guys. Still.
And I'm not suggesting Kershaw's not going to dominate.
This is the year Kershaw breaks through.
I hope so.
All right, next from Church 0802. Alex Rodriguez's future in Major League Baseball, Yankee or not? Hey, Alex Rodriguez is arguably the best player in that Yankees lineup right now, the best position player. Hitting in the middle of the lineup, put out outstanding offensive numbers this year, especially for a guy 40 years old. Played clean, I think,
right,
and stayed out of the media. You know, for all the wrong reasons. Meaning he wasn't in the media for all the wrong reasons. He was in the media for all the good reasons this year. So I think they're going to bring him back, and I think he can still DH. Might play a little first base. I don't think they can afford to not bring him back.
I would agree.
Yeah. All right. And next, Anthony _Himes is a dog sandwich. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, if you can't put it, it has to be on Wonder Bread. That defines a
Wonder
sandwich.
Bread?
Or
just one brand of bread?
No, it could be any type of bread, but it has to be a regular piece of bread. So, like a hamburger, you could put in the middle of two pieces of, wheat toast if you want to.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't fit, then you must acquit.
You're going against the conventional definition of a sandwich, which is a piece of meat between two pieces of bread.
Like
any bread.
I understand that.
Sourdough, pumpernickel, bun.
It has to fit.
Pretzel bun.
It has to fit comfortably in, let's say, sandwich bread. If
How
it
do
doesn't,
you know, and how do you know it's comfortable? Do you ask it?
Because a hot dog just looks completely out of place between two pieces.
I think a hot
of
dog
one
looks
of them.
completely out of place just about anywhere.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a weird piece of meat.
Yeah.
What is it? Oh, there's a sandwich. All right. That segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price, and you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more, because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to pick some NFL games right now. Semi-full schedule. There's some buys this week. So we will throw the games up there and give me your winner. No point spread, just head straight up.
Yeah,
give me your winner
yeah.
and one reason why.
Okay.
All right? Let's start with Chicago at Kansas City.
Chiefs, because the Bears have Jay Cutler.
Okay, and I'm going the Chiefs. They're home. It's a very bad Chicago team. I don't care that they won against Oakland last week. They're bad. Seattle at Cincinnati.
That's a tough one. That's the game of the week by far.
Oh, by the way, I should tell everybody, Woody's taking Kansas City.
Yeah.
Okay.
That to me is a toss-up. I'm going to go with the Bengals because I think that Andy Dalton has turned a corner.
I'm going Bengals as well. As I said earlier in the show, Seattle has yet to show me they're a good road team. I don't think they have their act together yet. And Cincinnati is a very good team right now.
They might be the most talented team, top to bottom, in the NFL.
Woody's also taking Cincinnati. Washington and Atlanta. I'll go first on this one. I'm actually torn on this. I kind of like the way Washington's playing ball this year. They're running it well. They're playing pretty good defense. But they're running into a hot team at home in Atlanta. And Atlanta has shown that it's gotten its act together on defense. I think they're going to stymie Washington, and I think they're going to win.
If Mike Shanahan was coaching Washington, you would definitely pick Washington, right?
Because
you spend time in his basement watching games.
Well, you bring up a good point, though. Atlanta's offensive coordinator is Kyle Shanahan,
yes,
who knows the Redskins very well.
Right. I will pick the Falcons for a very simple reason.
Yeah.
Julio Jones is the best wide receiver by far in football.
He sure is right now. Jacksonville at Tampa Bay. Boy, there's one I'm not going to be watching. Ugh.
I think they get the 7th broadcast team on that one.
Out of 6.
Out of 6.
Yeah. I'm taking Tampa Bay. Don't ask me why. I don't care. You?
I agree with your analysis 100%.
and Woody takes Tampa Bay as well. New Orleans at Philadelphia.
Wow. That's another game not worth watching. Another game not worth watching.
I like watching Drew Brees.
I do too.
Who do you like?
Wow. I hope the Eagles lose. So just for the sport of it. But I don't think the Saints are very good on the road.
Terrible.
Right.
Or at home. They're not very good at home either.
I'm going to have to go with the Eagles because Chip Kelly's under a lot of heat. That's why.
Philadelphia has looked like absolute horse you-know-what. Then again, so has New Orleans. Right. So
I'll go with the home team.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the home team too, Philadelphia. Cleveland, we're not really sticking our necks out too much here. It's Cleveland at Baltimore.
Why do we have to stick our necks out? The point is to be right.
That's true.
It's not about, in the NCAA tournament, I'm going to pick all the 15 seeds to beat the 2 seeds. I just want to be right. Usually I make these picks after the games are over, so this is something new for me.
Do you ever get any wrong?
No.
Once in a while?
That's why I always
make... The funny answer would have been once in a while.
That's true.
Okay.
Well,
Cleveland at Baltimore. Make a pick, damn it.
I appreciate the education from such a comedic genius like you. I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Okay, me too. I think that's pretty obvious. Cleveland's bad. St. Louis at Green Bay. St. Louis playing pretty good defense these days.
If the game was in St. Louis, I'd pick the Rams. But the fact that the game is in Green Bay, I will go with the Packers.
I'm going to take Green Bay, and Woody takes Green Bay. But I'm going to ask you this question. St. Louis, a good defense with a good pass rush.
Tremendous.
Does Aaron Rodgers throw an interception for the first time in 3 years at home?
He might. How do you like the
way to go out.
How do you like
way to
the way
stick your neck out there?
Or jam that fence somewhere?
Yeah, and he might not.
Yeah.
Okay, Arizona at Detroit.
Arizona at Detroit?
Yes.
Arizona.
I'm going Arizona too. I'm going with the away team.
Have we picked the same every single time?
I believe we have.
Okay.
But we might differ here. New England at Dallas. New England coming off a bye. Dallas getting Greg Hardy back in the lineup.
You mean the wife beater? The domestic violence abuser? The guy who said, I hope Tom Brady's wife brings her girlfriends. The guy who really learned his lesson. The guy who should be banned from football, period.
That's
the guy who I hope gets carted off in an ambulance and never plays again. That Greg Hardy?
That's the guy.
Yeah. Who are you picking?
Dallas.
Good. I'll take the Patriots.
Okay. And Woody's taking New England as well. San Francisco at the New York Giants. Quickly.
San Francisco against the Giants? Oh, I'll go with the Giants.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. All right. And Denver at Oakland, and give me a score.
Broncos win 23-13.
And a reason why?
Because I think the Broncos offense is good for about 23 points. I don't think they're in the 30 category. And I think that the Broncos defense will probably give up some kind of fluke touchdown, and they'll give up a couple of field goals.
Broncos defense will put pressure on Derek Carr. He has not felt all year, and he will bend to it.
Yep.
And the Oakland pass defense is one of the worst in the league. Peyton and the offense get very healthy this weekend.
So what's your score?
24-13.
You guys forgot this.
We just gave the same pick.
You forgot that one.
We forgot Bills and Titans?
Bills.
I'm going to go Titans.
Wow.
Just for the hell of it.
Way to go.
I kind of like Tennessee this year.
What do you say?
And Woody is taking in that game Tennessee. He likes Tennessee
because he's from
a lot.
Tennessee.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the DPTV anchor desk and Molly Hughes.
Hello, I'm Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom with some of our top stories from DPTV, and we begin with breaking news. We've learned the young man killed in a shooting at Northern Arizona University overnight is from Castle Rock, Colorado. The university confirms Colin Breaux was killed and 3 others were injured during a confrontation between 2 groups outside of an on-campus dormitory at NAU. Breaux was a 2013 graduate of Castleview High School in Douglas County. The hospital in Arizona is not releasing information on the conditions of the 3 people who were shot. The shooter is identified as 18-year-old Stephen Jones. Campus police say he is in custody, but to this point, he has not been booked into jail. You can check for online updates as we work to learn more about Colin Breaux, the local man, and what led up to that gunfire. A jury has reached a verdict in the case of Terrence Roberts, an anti-gang activist accused of shooting a member of the Bloods. After a day and a half of deliberating, the jury found Roberts not guilty of attempted murder in the shooting of Hassan Jones. Here's what he had to say after the verdict was read.
I've been saying for 2 years that I did not shoot Hassan for no reason, and why would I want to shoot a young man for no reason who I wanted the best for, and Mr. Jones knows that I wanted the best for him too in our community.
Roberts and Jones were both members of the Bloods. Roberts contended that after he left the gang and became an activist, he was called a snitch and threatened by Jones. Tensions escalated to gunshots before a peace rally here at Holly Square back in 2013. The jury sided with Terrence Roberts, who argued he shot Jones in self-defense. Wildlife officers in Boulder have killed bear number 317, who had been spotted roaming Boulder with 2 cubs numerous times. Police got the call last night that Mama Bear and her 2 cubs had returned. They were in a backyard of a home on Iris Avenue. For weeks now, wildlife officers have known they had the grim task of killing bear tag 317 the next time they had the chance. Mama Bear was tagged with that number when she was captured in a populated area earlier this summer. That tag marked the first strike, and when a bear is spotted a second time near people, wildlife officers are forced to kill it. They're now tasked with finding a good place to relocate the 2 bear cubs. We could use some good news right about now, huh? I think we might find it in the form of our weekend forecast with our partners in the 7 News Storm Station.
I'm Storm Station 7 meteorologist Lisa Hidalgo, and we are in for a beautiful, very warm weekend. Today, you're going to find low to mid 70s across the plains, 50s and 60s up and through the central mountains, and near 80 on the western slope. Speaking of 80s, we're going to be in the 80s this weekend. Both Saturday and Sunday, most of the metro area in the low to upper 80s. Temperatures well above normal and, in fact, closer to the record. Molly, back to you.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And you are up to date. For more on these stories and others, pick up a copy of the Denver Post. And we invite you to go to denverpost.com/alerts if you'd like to sign up to have these DPTV news updates emailed to you directly. I'm Molly Hughes in the newsroom with some of our top stories from DPTV.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price, and you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more, because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Second hour of the Sports Show with Woody and Les and everyone else. Eric Goodman filling in for Woody. A brownie filling my mouth right now. And Dan Boniface, who is the digital director of sports for the Denver Post, to talk to us about what's trending now.
Well, news just into the newsroom today. Ty Sambrailo and Cody Latimer have been ruled out for Sunday for the Broncos. Evan Mathis is questionable, as is Benny Fowler. What does this mean for the Broncos' offensive line? No Sambrailo and potentially no Mathis.
No Latimer?
Well, I'm
going to change my pick to the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm more worried about the Mathis thing than anything. They showed last week they can get by without Sambrailo with Ryan Harris at left tackle. Evan Mathis at left guard. They're going to probably throw, I would guess, Max Garcia in there. I mean, he went the whole training camp and most of the season practicing at left guard. And for a while there, he was actually starting until they picked up Mathis off the beach. But boy, oh boy, the Mathis thing, that could hurt. I'm not all that worried about Oakland's defense, but that could hurt.
What was the condition with Mathis again?
Hamstring.
The hamstring.
No, he's been dealing with it, but
he's questionable, and they do say that they think he's going to be ready for Sunday.
Right.
So
then why am I fretting?
I think that Gary Kubiak needs to keep a close eye on Evan Mathis. And if he sees anything, he needs to put in Max Garcia. Kubiak said in the opener he should have given Max Garcia more playing time and did not. He said that was his mistake. I hope that Gary Kubiak has learned from his mistake.
You do realize if Max Garcia ends up playing left guard instead of Evan Mathis, it's, well, no, Sambrailo's not going to be playing.
I knew where you were going with
that. Never mind.
But I also say...
Good Emily Latella.
Thank you.
Wow.
Saturday Night Live. Just in case you didn't know that.
I didn't catch that reference.
Gilda Radner.
You weren't even a thought when she was on television, Gilda Radner.
What you got next?
Next up, we got the Avs collapse last night. That's a big trender on our website today.
Like a cheap card table.
And I was thinking about this 2 years ago, Patrick Waugh's first game on the bench for the Avs. I don't know if you remember this.
Knocked over the glass.
He's pushing the glass.
I tweeted that out last night. He needs to knock over the glass.
Yeah, has he lost the fire? Is that what's missing with this Avs team?
Boy, I don't think Patrick's missing the fire. I think he'll always have that fire. It's just his nature. But, I mean, 4 goals in less than 5.5 minutes and lose that game when they were up 4-1 in the final period. We watched Jeremy Roenick after that game.
Yep.
Doing the postgame show, and he said they're not in shape. They didn't look like they were in shape,
physically or mentally.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that's what it was, or is this just one game out of 81, and we shouldn't be losing any sleep over it?
When you walk into a hockey locker room, all the guys are nice, but when you look at the core, I'm wondering if they are too nice. When I look at a guy like Demaryius Thomas, I wonder if he truly has a raging fire inside of him, like a Terrell Owens, like a Randy Moss, like a Des Bryant. You are not going to beat me, okay? I don't know if Matt Duchene has that. I'm not so sure McKinnon has that, and I'm not so sure Landeskog has that.
They were out physical in the third period and really could do nothing about it.
And when you looked at a guy like Joe Sakic when he played, he was a really calm guy, but I've had more than a few of his teammates say to me, when they were in a situation where it's 5-4, and Joe Sakic's a laid-back guy, he would calmly skate right along the bench and say, I got it. I don't think they have an I got it guy. I know the Wild do with Zach Parise. I'm not so sure if the Avalanche have that. You would think it's Jerome McGinley. One reason they brought him in was not only to score 30 goals, but I thought he would bring more leadership. And this was a complete collapse on so many levels.
Let's bring it full circle. If they don't, in fact, have that guy, then it should be Patrick Waugh. Sometimes it has to come from the head coach.
You know who it might be, as crazy as it might sound? It might be Boschman, the new defenseman they brought in, because he was doing a lot of chirping on the bench, saying to the defensive guys, you need to be here, you need to be here. But offensively, I don't know if they have that guy.
Well, news out of Avs practice just coming in from Mike Chambers. Waugh is going with the same 20-man lineup and Varlamov in goal tomorrow night against Dallas.
Okay.
You know what the biggest concern out of that is? Where the hell is Brad Stewart at $3.6 million?
He was inactive last
How could he not make the top six?
What's next?
Last on the list, I was just listening to the the Blue Jays and the Rangers game. It's in the 11th inning right now. Tulo came up in the 8th in a clutch situation.
And don't tell me he struck out.
He grounded out to second on the first pitch.
Yep. I love Tulo, but in clutch situations, he's really not that great. I hate to say it.
So it got me thinking, former Rockies in the playoffs right now, who are you pulling for the most?
I'm pulling for Dexter Fowler with Chicago. I really like Dex. Good guy. I thought he was underestimated here. I think he could have done a lot more in the right situation. He's doing it in Chicago. He's a nice piece for them.
Had a heck of a game that first one.
I'm pulling for a guy that most Rockies fans don't know was in their organization and they gave up on.
Who's that?
Colin McHugh.
Ah, pitcher.
You got it.
Houston
for the
Astros.
Houston Astros.
Yep.
19-7. He's one of the main reasons why the Astros are doing what they are doing.
I'm also pulling for Tulo. I'd like to see him do well.
I would love to see Troy Tulowitzki win a World Series.
That'd be
Dan.
interesting.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having
Dan
me.
Boniface with What's Trending Out. Go to thedenverpost.com and see what he's got. Elway?
Oh, no, real quick. Dan,
yeah.
do you believe a hot dog is a sandwich?
No, I don't.
Why not?
I think it's its own category.
I couldn't
It's
agree with
its
that
own
more.
thing.
All right, what would that category be if it's
Why
not
are
a
you being
sandwich?
argumentative about this? Let Dan have his opinion.
It's a hot dog.
That's
a
right.
piece of meat between two pieces of bread.
It doesn't fit.
Isn't that the definition of a sandwich?
Technically, yeah, but I mean, it's a hot dog. It's not a sandwich.
It doesn't fit. It looks odd. It doesn't look right. It has to fit the size of two pieces of sliced bread. If it doesn't fit comfortably in between two
What about a
pieces
hot
of-
dog bun? That doesn't count?
That's not two pieces of sliced bread.
Well, that's your definition. Mine is just bread. It doesn't have to be like Wonder Bread, flat bread.
You're just
Then
angry.
you cut into a loaf.
You're angry, Les. Let's talk about this. We're on comfortable couches. What is going on with you?
Shut up. How about a hot dog? How about a hot dog on a pretzel bun?
On a pretzel bun.
Maybe
Yeah.
if you cut the hot dog in half
Guys,
and then splay it out,
Everything,
then yeah.
Everything goes on a pretzel bun. You just need to know that, okay? Dan, thanks, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
That stupid segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac of Park Meadows, Colorado's #1 Cadillac dealer.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
8 to 12. Welcome back, Sports Show with Woody. What the hell is this? What is this?
That's the Vikings guy, isn't it?
Is that Rag?
Lions fan.
Who is it?
It's a Lions fan.
Oh, it's a
A
Lions
Detroit
fan?
Lions fan?
Yeah.
You thought it was Ragnar?
No, it's Simba from The Lion King, the Broadway musical.
Got it.
Yeah.
Were you ever tempted to dress like that to go to a game? Were you ever a paint your face guy?
Just my body.
Just your body.
And then I'd put clothes over it.
Thank God.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk some college football. All right, Leonard Fournette. I mean, it looks like he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. I know it's early in the season, but there's nobody even close to him right now. He's averaging 216 yards a game. Is he on the way to having the best season ever for a college running back?
Too early to say because he's barely played any conference games yet. You can make the case the SEC has the greatest collection of defensive players, but he's barely played deep into the SEC schedule. To me, and I hate to be get off your lawn guy, but the greatest college running backs I've ever seen are Herschel Walker and Earl Campbell, and in my mind, no one will ever top them. Ron Dane.
Whoa.
No one.
What? I'm going to throw a name at you.
Yeah.
Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders was great.
Who had the best season ever of any college football player ever at any position ever.
Earl Campbell and Herschel Walker were road graders.
Oh, Herschel was incredible.
Right.
Well,
Barry Sanders danced around people.
Okay.
I watched those two guys run through people.
I came armed, all right, and not with a pistol, not with a Colt 45, not with a revolver.
You know what the difference between me and you is? The difference between me and you is?
Yeah.
You need notes and I don't.
I do need notes because there are a lot of numbers here. I came with a bazooka, okay? Barry Sanders, 1988. He set 34 NCAA records.
Mm-hmm.
He won the Heisman. Mm-hmm. He ran for, this is the regular season,
Mm-hmm.
2,628 yards and 37 touchdowns. That doesn't count the Holiday Bowl when he ran for 222 yards and 5 more touchdowns. So altogether, 2,850 yards, 44 touchdowns.
Who's the NCAA?
Fournette's got no shot.
Who is the NCAA's all-time rushing leader?
I believe it's Barry Sanders.
No, I believe it's Ron Dane.
Oh, okay.
And
Melvin Gordon had a season for the ages too as well.
Ron Dane is hardly the greatest college running back of all time. So it's more than just numbers. To me, it's the eye test. I can see your argument easily with Barry Sanders.
I'm glad you passed your eye test and you can see my argument.
No, it's hard to disagree.
That was a
joke. It's hard to disagree with Barry Sanders because of the numbers. But the eye test to me, I watched Earl Campbell.
The question is the best season ever. Barry Sanders, not even close.
In terms of numbers, yes.
Next question. Okay. What happened to USC last night? What's their problem?
Their problem is that they haven't reached out to Chip Kelly yet.
Well, they might be doing that soon.
Yes, they will be.
But they might have to fight Texas for him.
Yeah.
This USC team has 5-star recruits, blue chip recruits all over the roster. They're not playing like blue chip recruits. Mm-hmm. They blow second half leads constantly, which tells me there's an adjustment problem in the locker room at halftime. Mm-hmm. It's got to be Sarkisian. It's got to be the head coach.
No, it's got.
What else could it be?
It's got to be November 14th, where the Buffs beat USC.
Is that what you're looking forward to?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
How about you?
No, that's not going to happen.
You want to go to the game? I have club level seats. Do you want to go?
I think I'm washing my hair that night.
That's funny because I'm going to be bathing my cat.
What game this Saturday are you most looking forward to? I'm going to answer this one first. I'm looking forward to the CU game against Arizona State.
They're playing.
They're playing at Arizona State.
Yeah.
For one thing, because we're so close to the CU program, and I want to see how they come off that game against Oregon. And number two, it's Arizona State. It's where I went to school. You know, I'm familiar with the whole deal. So it's two teams I'm very familiar with. And I'm not looking, just so you know, I predicted what would happen with CU and Oregon last week. And I'm going to tell you, it's not going to get any prettier for CU this weekend.
You might very well be right.
They don't have CU, and you're a season ticket holder, I know, and you go to all the home games. I still believe CU doesn't have the talent and certainly not the speed to compete well in the Pac-12 yet.
No disagreement from me. When I look at the college slate this weekend, there isn't one game that really sticks out. I think Michigan Northwestern is interesting if you're a Big Ten fan. Let's see what Utah can do. And some would say they're the best team in the country. They're going to wind up taking on Cal. But you know what? This is what I've learned early on about the college football season. Any team can win the national title this year. There isn't one clear-cut favorite. Not one.
I'm with you. Woody asked me last week for the number one team in college football. I said the Utah Utes. Look at their schedule. They're undefeated, and they beat some really good teams in 3 of those 4 games. Mm-hmm. That segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac at Park Meadows. It's Colorado's #1 Cadillac dealer.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price, and you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more, because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Sports Show with Woody and Les and everyone else. This is Eric Goodman from Mile High Sports Radio. And let's talk some Broncos and Raiders. This is Game 5 for the Broncos. Do you think the Raiders are the most balanced offense the Broncos will have met up to this point?
Yeah, no question about it.
Do you?
I'm not saying they're the best offense. I'm saying they're the most balanced. Now, I don't know if Crabtree's going to play. I believe he's banged up. Cooper's a pretty good wide receiver. They have a pretty good running game.
He's a real good wide receiver.
Right. They have a pretty good running game, right?
Latavius Murray.
And I think that Derek Carr is only going to get better. So I think they're set at all their skill positions. When I look at the teams they have played, yeah, the Baltimore Ravens had basically no wide receivers with the exception of Steve Smith. Kansas City, good running game. I like Alex Smith, but what wide receivers do they really have?
That's the team that I think has a more balanced offense than Oakland. And I'm not an Alex Smith fan, but Derek Carr, to me, I don't see star written on Derek Carr.
I'm not
yet.
suggesting
Amari Cooper, yes.
Who has better?
Latavius Murray, I'm not sure of yet. He had a few good games and he had one really bad game last week. But Kansas City, Alex Smith is what Alex Smith is. Okay, he can be dangerous at times, but most of the time he's not. Jeremy Maclin is one hell of a wide receiver, and Jamal Charles. I mean, come on. And then you've got a tight end, the Kelsey, who's having a really nice year. I think Kansas City's been the most balanced offense they've faced so far. Not Baltimore, not Detroit, not Minnesota. It's probably between Kansas City and Oakland, but I'm taking Kansas City.
I would take Oakland.
Okay.
Because I like Derek Carr more than I like Alex Smith, and just statistically speaking, not only is Derek Carr better than Alex Smith, don't shoot the messenger. Statistically only, he is far better than Peyton Manning.
Jeez.
He is.
You don't give up on that.
I'm stating facts. I'm not stating opinion. I'm stating facts. Jake Plummer said it himself.
When you say one quarterback is better than another, that's subjective. That's opinion.
I said statistically speaking.
You are a hater.
I'm not a hater.
You're a Peyton Manning hater.
Absolutely not. That is so untrue. I call it the way I see it.
That word anyway.
I call it the way I see it.
Yeah.
And if I don't see it, I make it up.
Raiders are the worst team in the National Football League against tight ends this year. Absolutely the worst by far. Lots of yardage, lots of touchdowns they've given up to the tight end position. What kind of day do you think Owen Daniels will have?
Owen Daniels has gotten better as the weeks have gone
Touchdown
along.
passes in the last couple of games.
Owen Daniels, offensively, was by far and away the best player on the field for the Broncos in their last game. Whoa. He was personally responsible for 2 touchdowns. One getting wide open, and the other one sealing the block for Ronnie Hillman. He was personally responsible for 2 touchdowns. Owen Daniels doesn't make that block, no touchdown. Doesn't find a way to sneak around some defensive players, no touchdown. That was 4th down.
Now, Woody and I have gone back and forth on Owen Daniels all year long. He's anti, I'm pro. I was told when they signed Owen Daniels that they were getting a really good tight end who can block and who still, even in his 10th year, knows how to get open, and he's smart. And I've seen that all year. I've seen frustration on his face a lot as well because he's been open and Peyton hasn't seen him at times.
Bingo.
Or he just hasn't been targeted at all. First couple of games, how many times have they thrown him? Not many. They're starting to figure out he's a pretty good tight end. He's got touchdown catches in the last 2 games. He's doing a good job blocking, as you pointed out, on the Hillman run for 72 yards. And I think they finally discovered, you know what? We forgot about him the first couple of games. We're not going to forget about him from here on out. I think he's going to have a really fine game. I think he's going to have somewhere between 80 and 90 yards, probably another touchdown catch. And I think we could be hanging the star of the game on him after Sunday.
If Peyton Manning is going to be successful running this offense moving forward while passing the ball, he has to find a consistent number 3 option that he can trust.
Well, he does that with tight ends all the time. Julius Thomas, Dallas Clark in Indianapolis.
But no,
loves his tight ends.
I'm not talking about tight ends. That's why I said.
No, what I'm telling you is he can be that guy.
That's fine.
I should say, though, they've kept him in the block way too much. That's another reason why.
Well, they have to.
Yeah.
Well, they have to.
Right.
I'm not talking about a tight end, and I know the history with tight ends with Peyton Manning. I'm talking about a pass catcher, a guy who actually can catch a ball. Look at it is so lopsided. It was so lopsided through the first 2-3 games. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, and then everybody else.
Yeah.
Jordan Norwood is not the answer. You could say that Benny Fowler maybe was for one game.
Yeah.
But let's look at Peyton Manning's history. Last year, Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, and then he had Julius Thomas. The year before, he had Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, and Julius Thomas,
yeah.
and Wes Welker. When he played with the Indianapolis Colts,
he does spread it around. No matter where he's been, he's spread it around.
But in the first 2-3 games, he didn't spread it around. And that doesn't have as much to do with talent as it does trust. And you know Peyton Manning as well as anyone. If he doesn't trust you, he's not throwing you the ball. If he can find a third guy to truly trust, then I think this opens up the offense a lot more.
Owen Daniels. Peyton Manning's stats versus Minnesota, not great. 17 for 27, 213 yards, 1 touchdown pass, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. Will his numbers be worse, the same, or better versus Oakland? I believe this could be a breakout game for Peyton Manning.
What do you consider a breakout game?
A breakout game, I'd say 280 to 300 yards. I'd say 3 touchdown passes. I'd say sacked once, maybe twice tops.
Okay.
And he's so angry with himself. I'm going to guess that he will not throw an interception this game. I just don't think so. I think this is the game where Peyton Manning finally is happy and consistent. A lot of it has to do with the Raiders' pass defense. It's bad.
Yep.
And they don't have a great pass rush either, although Khalil Mack is a rising star.
Alden Smith.
Yeah.
What do you mean,
Yeah.
Alden Smith is an excellent pass rusher.
Yeah, one sack this year so far in 4 games.
He just came back from prison, didn't he?
Well,
I'm kidding. Not prison, but close to it. I think Peyton Manning will have a terrific game. It wouldn't
give me some numbers.
I think he probably throws for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick.
So you haven't thrown a pick?
Yeah, why wouldn't I?
Good point. Segment brought to you by
I'm just going by the history.
John Elway Cadillac, Colorado's #1 Cadillac dealer.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Sports Show with Woody and Les and everyone else. Eric Goodman filling in for Woody, who's on his way to Oakland for the Broncos game. Let's talk some baseball here. One hard question, Eric. Pick the 2 teams in the World Series. Who's going to win and in how many games?
I can't.
Why not?
Because when you look, I'm serious.
Is somebody not allowing you?
That is illegal.
I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals all have great pitching staffs, and it's just going to be who gets hot.
So you're eliminating the Cubs in the National League?
Yeah, because they have Arrieta, who's great.
Well, I'm putting you on the hot seat. Who's going to get hot?
And they can't hit. Although you feel like the Cubs this year are playing like the Royals did last year.
But there's not enough pitching and there's not enough experience.
I would agree.
All right, you're not going to answer.
I'll go.
I
No,
will.
I'm going to go.
Okay.
I will go St. Louis, real stretch, and I will go Houston.
I'm going to go the Dodgers. I just love those 2 guys at the top of the rotation.
How can you not?
And I think Kershaw breaks through this year and has some postseason success.
Who's their third starter?
Brett Anderson, a
I
former
know.
Colorado Rocky.
I know. What a smart move to get rid of him.
But well, he was a $10 million option, and he showed nothing, and he couldn't stay healthy. I had no problem with the Rockies getting rid of Brett Anderson.
Was he injured this year?
No, he was healthy all year long. He's a .500 pitcher, making a lot of money. That's with the Dodgers. What would he be here?
Right.
But Greinke and Kershaw, here's why I like the
Great
Dodgers.
1-2 punch. That's Drysdale Koufax.
But here's why I like them. They're horses. They're Bumgardner. If they need them to go on 3 days rest.
They are not Bumgardner.
232 innings pitched for Kershaw this year, which led the league. 222 for Greinke, and I believe he was second or third. They're horses. If they need to pitch 3 games in a 7-game series, one of them can.
Yeah.
Even if they're just giving you 6 innings, I'll take 6 innings from one of those 2 guys.
only-
They can pitch in relief if need be. So I like the Dodgers. The lineup's not great, although they're getting Puig back. But I never, ever bet against pitching. American League, I kind of like Houston. I kind of like the hot team.
Yep.
And if it's not Houston, it's going to be Toronto. So Dodgers, I got the Dodgers, and I'm not pandering to Alana on this. I want her to know that, okay? I'm taking the Dodgers against, I'm going to say Houston, and I'm going to call it in 5 games.
You know, it'd be a shame.
Yep.
If the Dodgers win. Alana can hear this, correct?
Yeah.
Alana,
Okay.
can you hear us right now?
I can. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alana, what's going to be a shame, and no knock on the LA Dodgers organization, but what's going to be a shame if the Dodgers go to the World Series and win it is you have cities like Chicago, New York, and St. Louis who would appreciate it so much more than the fans out there.
So they don't deserve it? More people went to Dodgers games than any other ballpark this year. Why shouldn't
very
they?
true.
Yeah. So why, Alana? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, wait, you're on TV there,
Can I
right?
do a proper introduction,
Hold
please?
on. We proper introduction. I know Alana, and you know Alana.
We
all know each other.
We have an international audience. It's not just a Colorado audience. all right?
International.
Yes. Alana Rizzo. She is a Dodgers reporter for Sportsnet LA. Hello, Alana.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing great. Go ahead, Eric.
How much talk has there been about Clayton Kershaw and his recent playoff appearances as the Dodgers get ready for Game 1?
Pretty much constant. Everybody wants to know how he's going to do. He has, the nickname of, if you will, of the Peyton Manning of Major League Baseball as far as the postseason is concerned. Can't win a big game. But if you ask Clayton Kershaw, that's more fuel to his fire. Naturally, the last 2 postseasons did not end the way that he nor the Los Angeles Dodgers wanted them to end. But Clayton Kershaw has had yet another tremendous year, and I think Game 1 is huge. I think Game 1 is a pivotal game for obvious reasons, but also for him to get over the hump. The way that it's set up, you could have easily gone with Zach Greinke for Game 1, but Clayton Kershaw pitches better on short rest than Zach does. So if need be, Clayton could come back on short rest. And I think, to prove to the fans, not that Clayton cares, but to prove to the fans that he can do it, and perhaps to prove to himself that he can shine in the postseason as well, I think tonight's game at Dodger Stadium is gigantic for him and for the organization.
Alana, you're a Colorado gal, is that right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and I'm so glad you said what you said, because I said
About
what you
Peyton- you mean
said
about
earlier
Peyton-
in the show.
about Peyton
I
Manning.
said Clayton Kershaw is baseball's version of Peyton Manning, and
That
you
is
have
such a-
less. You have
that's such
less
a
over here.
left-handed compliment,
You have
you know?
less over here waving his pom poms, wearing his Peyton Manning jersey,
Listen,
and his
I'm a
Tennessee
huge Peyton
helmet.
Manning fan. I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan.
Right, so am I.
Denver Bronco fan.
Yep.
But unfortunately, you are what your record is, and Clayton knows that. And Clayton knows that he's a tremendous regular season pitcher, and he still has plenty of time and hopefully plenty of opportunities to create himself as a tremendous postseason pitcher as well. I think Clayton's 28 years old. He has an opportunity to have many more years in this game. And he and Zach Greinke both have had historic seasons, if you will. And tonight is huge for Clayton, certainly. And hopefully the Broncos can continue, and hopefully Peyton Manning goes out on top. This is, in fact, his last year. God willing, we get another Super Bowl.
Alana, I've read a lot about Kershaw and his postseason troubles, but I have yet to see anything that says why he's had postseason troubles. I know he's gone against, his last 4 losses, I believe, were against very good St. Louis Cardinals teams. But still, what do you think is the reason Kershaw has struggled in postseason?
That I honestly, Les, I don't know, because if you look at how he lost the games, it's against a left-hander, which makes even less sense than if, he had given up home runs to a right-handed hitter. I don't know what it is. I don't know if perhaps, I will say this. Clayton Kershaw is probably the hardest person I've ever seen in covering sports for 11 years, and baseball primarily, the hardest person I've ever seen to be taken out of a game. So perhaps he's left in there a little bit too long because he lobbies for himself to stay in. He's a guy that never wants the ball taken away. Of course, that shouldn't be Clayton Kershaw's decision. That needs to be Don Mattingly's decision. And I don't know. I don't know why he has struggled. You know, it's not as if he's getting blown up. It's basically, you know, in that final inning where he gives up a home run that ends up really hurting the team. It's not that Clayton Kershaw's gone out there and gotten shelled. If you look at the box scores from his postseason appearances, you know, he has had strong, you know, innings 1 through 5 basically. I believe it's the 6th and beyond where he's struggled the most. And by struggling, I mean he gives up a solo shot or a home run that really hurts him and hurts the team, and perhaps he's just, you know, stays in there for one batter too long. But you can't blame Don Mattingly when you have a left-hander coming up facing the best left-hander in the game.
Alana, not an easy decision for Don Mattingly, but an enviable one. He has to pick between those two guys. Why do you think he goes with Kershaw in front of Greinke in Game 1?
I think the only reason, Les, is because Kershaw is better on short rest. If they had to go to a Game 5, or even, you know, if they wanted Clayton or Zach to go in a Game 4 type of situation, Clayton Kershaw is better on shorter rest than Zach Greinke is. I mean, the history and the statistics show that Zach Greinke is much better on normal rest, you know, 4 days rest and pitching every 5th day, or even on an extra day of rest. I think, honestly, that's the only reason that they went this way. I asked them that very question, not only Don Mattingly, but the pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt, why they decided, you know, to tip the scale in Clayton's favor, and that's basically the reason. That they feel more comfortable. If need be, he could come back on shorter rest.
The Dodgers have certainly played the Mets more than a few times this season, but in some ways, do the Dodgers feel they're seeing a different Mets team with the way the Mets have gradually upgraded their lineup?
100%. I asked Clayton that question yesterday, or that question was asked of him yesterday. It's a very different team now on October 9th than it was when these met twice back in, obviously once in New York and once at the stadium. And, you know, obviously it's the acquisition of Yoenis Cespedes coming over from the Boston Red Sox, and, you know, having the additions of Juan Uribe, who, you know, may be an old man in baseball terms, but still has the quickest hands and the quickest feet of a lot of guys at third base that I've seen. You know, the addition of Kelly Johnson, you have a very healthy David Wright, and that's just their offense. And I'm sure I'm leaving out some guys, but their pitching staff is ridiculous. Of course, Jacob deGrom, who Jimmy Rollins describes as the filthiest of the three. Then you have Matt Harvey, who's going on Game 3. Jimmy Rollins describing him as the guy that has the most experience. And then Noah Syndergaard is the guy that Jimmy described as kind of the wild card. He said, you know, when he's off, we need to be on. And you have those three as far as the starting rotation is concerned. And then you have an offense that, you know, is healthy again and has some pop in that lineup. You know, much like the Dodgers lineup now, it's very long, and there aren't a lot of holes. I think, you know, it's Game 1, as I mentioned before, is critical, and I think if I like the Dodgers' chances with Clayton and Zach going in Game 1 and 2, and then if you get us on the road, you move on to the CS.
Alana, last thing, those who love to listen to Vin Scully on the Dodgers broadcast will not have that opportunity this postseason because Vin is having some health issues. Is he okay? Will he be okay for next year, do you believe?
He is okay. It was just a recommended medical procedure. I never want to say anything is minor because surgery is only minor to the people that aren't having it. It's just a recommended, you know, medical procedure. Vin is fine as far as I know. I understand he's resting comfortably, and better for him to get better and unfortunately miss the remainder of the postseason and be ready to come back in 2016. And as Vin always says, you know, God willing, he will be back. As far as I know, Vin is okay, and as far as I know, as of right now, he will be back in 2016, which is such wonderful news for everybody that loves to listen to Vin Scully, who's the absolute best at what he does.
He certainly is. And Alana, you are always more than okay with us. Really appreciate your time.
I appreciate that. It's good to see you, and hello, Colorado. Can't wait to get back.
Thanks,
right,
Alana. We'll see you soon. Alana Rizzo.
By the way, I don't want to say this with Alana on the line.
Yeah.
Maybe they're drawing fans in L.A., but they're certainly not watching the games on TV. Now, some of it has to do with there are certain carriers not carrying them.
Yeah.
But their television ratings are terrible. Just don't shoot the messenger.
No.
Just state facts.
I think it has to do with the fact there are a lot of things to do in L.A. besides go to a baseball game.
L.A. does not deserve a World Series champion.
I haven't looked up the number for about a week. I think about 3.4 million people went to Dodger Stadium this year. Best attendance in the league by far.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
But I think that a city like Chicago that has the Cubs would appreciate it more. St. Louis, where baseball is king in that city, would appreciate it more. And in a city like New York, where the Mets haven't been good for a long time, they'd appreciate it more. I root for the best story, not necessarily for the best team.
Okay, fair enough. That segment brought to you by John Elway Cadillac of Park Meadows. It's Colorado's #1 Cadillac dealer.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price, and you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more, because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Show with Woody and Les and everyone else. Eric Goodman filling in for Woody. And let's talk some hockey now with Mike Chambers of the Denver Post. He's the beat writer for the Post covering the Avalanche. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Sure. Mike, what the hell happened in the third period last night?
I don't know, but Terry Fry was doing a game story, and his game story was done in the third. It was 4-1 Avs, and they were coasting. They were looking good. And then in a span of 5 minutes, 7 seconds, everything changed. And it was just a horrible stretch it was probably one of the worst stretches in franchise history in terms of, 5-10 minute stretch, I would think. Just a horrible way to start the year after the Avs played a really good game up to that point.
Can you pinpoint what went wrong, why they went south so quickly?
Neutral zone turnovers, a lot of good looks in front of Varlamov in the slot. They weren't greasy goals. They beat Varley cleanly. But they were great shots. He's got to be responsible for making some saves there, but certainly the Wild had some outstanding looks. And, they played in the Avs end during that period, partly because of the neutral zone turnovers.
You've been around this town for a long time. One of the biggest criticisms of the Denver Nuggets has been they just don't have leadership in the locker room. I know Landeskog wears the C. They brought in Jerome McGinley, considered to be one of the better leaders in hockey. When you blow a lead like that in your opener at home, I don't think it's unfair to question who is the actual leader on this team. Is that unfair?
I don't think it's...
Let me tell you what I think he would have said. The
Okay.
answer is no. And that is a big concern. I think they gave the C to Landeskog way too early. Matt Duchene is a very talented player, although he had a real costly turnover. He's a really nice guy.
He got pushed around in that third period last night.
Their core is talented. And I'm not suggesting they don't have heart, but I am suggesting they don't have that step on your throat mentality. And I think that's a big concern when you're talking about your three guys, because O'Reilly's gone now. When you're talking about Duchene, McKinnon, and Landeskog. Did you hear the question that I asked before you got cut off?
Yeah, about leadership when I was talking, and then it went dead.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's certainly normal to question everybody on the team, from the head coach to the backup goaltender. I think it was such an epic collapse that I think everybody has to take a little blame and say what the heck happened and how do we avoid it in the future.
Mike, is this an aberration? It's one game. There are 81 more games left in the season. Is this an aberration, or is this something to worry about, that they allowed a rival on their home ice to score 4 goals in 5.5 minutes?
Yeah. I still don't think the Avs are as good as they need to be on the blue line defensively, and Varlamov needs to make some big saves late in the third period. But certainly I thought the first 2 periods, the Avalanche, in terms of offense, looked very well. It looked very good. They were sharp, and they're 100% still on the power play, 2 for 2. So offensively, things look good, but yeah, I think that there's still a lot of questions defensively that this team needs to overcome.
And I would agree with you on the concerns on defense, although I think Boschman played a pretty good game. It's the forwards that kept turning the puck over, not the defensemen. It was the forwards that kept turning the puck over. And, I don't want to bring up Joe Sakic when he used to play, but Les and I talked about it before. When Joe Sakic played, he would skate by his bench in a situation like we saw last night and say, I got it. I don't think they have an I got it guy. I don't think they have a Parise who's going to say, I'm going to take over. Who's more talented? Nathan McKinnon or Zach Parise? I think Nathan McKinnon's more talented. I think that Duchesne's more talented. But I think that Parise has something that those guys just don't have, and I think that's the missing equation with this team.
Eric, I completely agree with you. Matt Duchesne wants to be that player. He's capable of being that player, but last night he was -3.
Yep. And you can say the same thing for Landeskog, too.
Mike, if you're not getting it from the players, should the leadership be coming from the head coach? Does he need to be more animated, more emotional?
I think everybody wishes that he would be. His first career game, he was so animated, he kind of set a standard that we haven't seen since.
Yeah. He needed to do that last night, Mike.
I agree with you.
At some point, like when it was 4-3. Hey, really appreciate your time, Mike. We'll be talking to you throughout the season, all right?
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Mike Chambers, he covers the Avalanche for the Denver Post, and that segment was brought to you by John Elway Cadillac.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price, and you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more, because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Four on the Floor, brought to you by Citywide Banks. Four on the Floor, brought to you by Citywide Banks. 4 questions. We each get 30 seconds. When the bell goes off, don't keep talking.
Don't look at me.
That means stop.
No, don't
it's a
look
red
at
light.
me.
The bell equals red light.
Okay.
All right. There is now a second presidential candidate who says Joe Flacco is elite because we need presidential candidates telling us the quarterbacks are elite.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Did we find out about this through an email on a server and it shouldn't have been on that server?
Are you referring to Hillary?
No.
Who was the second? I know Trump did. Who was the second one?
Martin O'Malley.
Martin O'Malley? We're counting him as a presidential candidate? On the Democratic side, right?
Was he even invited to the debate?
He's challenging. So. They haven't had a debate yet. The Democrats
haven't serve drinks?
All right. So is Martin O'Malley? Are Martin O'Malley and Donald Trump correct? Is Joe Flacco elite?
He was for a particular playoff run. Other than that, no.
Oh, I think he's an elite quarterback.
You do?
Oh yeah. I mean, look at his playoff record, particularly. He's not great on the road. He's really good at home, and he's really good in the playoffs.
He's the anti-Peyton Manning. He plays.
You can't stay away from that, can you?
I think Peyton Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I'm here to state facts and opinion. I'm just stating facts. Joe Flacco is great in the playoffs. He's not very good in the regular season.
Top 10 quarterback?
Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
Not in the regular season, he's not. And for most of his career, he's been anchored by a great running game and a great defense. And he was great in the playoffs.
I like Joe Flacco.
Okay.
Matt Hasselbeck's performance on Thursday. One of the gutsiest performances you've ever seen?
No. The gutsiest performance I have ever seen. Jimmy said to me, he goes, have you seen the questions? I said no. So this is off the top of my head. The gutsiest performance I've ever seen in sports history was Carrie Strug in the Olympics when she could barely walk and she went off that vault and won a gold medal.
This is one of.
You went Kelly Strug on me just now.
No, I didn't go Kelly Strug on you. I just said that's the
Carrie
gutsiest.
Strug, sorry,
Carrie
Carrie
Strug.
Strug.
That is the gutsiest sports performance I've ever seen. Michael Jordan playing with the flu.
Yeah, Hasselbeck,
yes.
That was not gutsy. The guy had the flu on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He was in bed.
Said he was on his deathbed.
I mean,
yeah. It was gutsy.
He had a really nice game against a defense that's overrated. In fact, that's our next question.
Okay.
Is J.J. Watt turning into J.J. what? We need the Tom Sula.
Okay.
J.J. what? What's wrong with look? J.J. Watt is being double and triple teamed every single play. I watched last night and I watched him closely. Every single play, they're hitting him high and they're hitting him low, and he's having trouble getting to the quarterback. He's not getting a lot of help from the rest of it. That defense, I thought that defense was going to be much, much better. I watched Hard Knocks. I kind of fell in love with Houston. But I also, the defense. But I also thought they would be, objectively, I thought they would be a really good defense. They're not. But it's not J.J. Watt's fault. He's literally getting double and triple teamed every single play.
They have great names on that defense. Vince Wilfork, Jadeveon Clowney, and J.J. Watt. And they're still not very good.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 4 games for J.J. Watt. Is he still the best defensive player in football? Even better than DeMarcus Ware, who's been great? Even better than Von Miller? I'll ask you this question. Who would you rather have right now, DeMarcus Ware or J.J. Watt?
J.J. Watt.
Then there's your answer.
All right.
So then it's not J.J. Watt.
Fourth and final question. I've told you that I would vote Utah #1 in the polls if I had a vote. Am I insane?
You're insane for a lot of reasons. Ding the bell. And we're done.
That's the answer.
Okay.
All right. That segment. But Citywide Read? Oh, that's right. Citywide. Citywide Banks. Citywide Banks. They sponsored that segment.
You were insane to ask me to do this show.
They are a Colorado. Yeah, I'm starting to think that too.
Yeah.
They're a Colorado-focused business bank. They will take care of your money the way they take care of our money here at the Sports Show. Citywide Bank has 12 locations across Denver and Boulder, so there is one close to you in your neighborhood. Look for it. They can help your business. Go in. They'll sit down. They'll talk with you and help you take your business to the next level. And they support a lot of charities around Colorado. So again, do your banking where we do ours here at the Sports Show. Go to Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
At Citywide Banks,
We put you first by exceeding your service expectations every day.
Every day.
All right, we're back now, according to Don. You want to do some mailbag?
Sure.
All right.
What if I said no?
I'd do it anyway.
That's what I thought. So why'd you ask?
From Brent Alston. How late in the season is too late for the Broncos offense to keep making excuses? Ooh, that's a good question.
This quarter of the way through the season, we need to see progress.
Yeah.
And I think we saw a little bit of progress in the running game against a good Minnesota Vikings defense. So I think we've taken a baby step in that direction. I'm not trying to pile on here. I know you know where I'm probably going with this. The running game.
Get the Peyton Manning.
No. If we're going to be fair about this, Peyton Manning has had 2 rotten games this season. The first one and the most recent one. I think he's going to be terrific against the Oakland Raiders.
Rotten at times, not rotten at the end. He's come through in the fourth quarter in each of the 4 games in a big, big way.
You mean he led a field goal drive?
Yes.
Okay. He's been wild. The best way to describe him is, and this is the way you describe pitchers in baseball, that go out there, pitch 6 innings, give up 6 hits and 5 walks and 5 strikeouts. He was wildly effective.
Good way to put it. It worked.
That's how I would describe
Peyton Manning. And he came through when he needed to come through.
I would agree.
By the way, I think you can continue to make excuses as long as this offensive line is not healthy.
Jake Plummer said
I also think they're going to take a huge leap forward this Sunday against Oakland.
Jake Plummer said it well when he joined us earlier. This team could very easily be 1-3.
Yeah.
They are 4-0 because of their defense. Their defense has accounted for, directly or indirectly, 31 of their 96 points. That is absolutely staggering.
Yeah.
What happens is when you win, you lift up the carpet and sweep a lot of dirt underneath it.
Yeah,
and that's what we're
call
doing
it mascara.
Right. That's what we're doing right now with this offense.
Tony Nine Santos, what will be the upset of the week? Cleveland versus Baltimore? Would love to hear your thoughts. So address Cleveland and Baltimore first. No, that's not going to happen. Josh McCown. I mean, do I need to say any more? Josh McCown. Baltimore's going to win. Baltimore's a good home team.
This is coming from a guy, I'm guessing, in Tony, who is from Cleveland and is very upset that Art Modell moved his franchise to Baltimore.
Okay, that could be.
That's a guess.
I'm calling for Dallas to upset New England. How about that?
That would be great to see.
All right. You want me to say something interesting? All right, we're calling this segment Say Something Interesting. All right. I'm going to have to read this. A photo of a well-known sports person or pop culture person will be flashed on the big screen. Ooh, I see that. we have to say something interesting about that person. That is Jim Caldwell.
Yes.
Correct? Head coach of the Detroit Lions. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Jim Caldwell should be a coordinator. You see a lack of emotion from him on the sideline. I see not very good decision making. I believe his response after the controversial loss to Seattle last weekend was far too flat. I would like to have seen a little bit more fire. And I also believe that he got to where he's at, riding the coattails, like so many others, of one Peyton Manning. Nice man. Peter principle might be at stake here.
Very simply, I see a guy who's very unhappy coaching this franchise.
Oh, there's my Dumb and Dumber. Mark Davis of the Oakland Raiders.
Wow.
The owner.
Yeah.
You start, Eric.
I'm very happy that I did not dig into my father's collection of members-only jumpsuits.
I'm very happy that I don't have his barber. And I'm very happy that I didn't have his father either. His father made crap out of him.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he ended up with that haircut.
You know what he's thinking? I just finished 10 years of therapy, and I'm finally done with it.
Who is this? Is this the Italian tennis star?
Yes, it is.
The one who won the U.S. Open?
Sarah Irani.
Sarah,
Italy.
is she the one who won? Did she win the U.S. Open, or was she second place? She's not the one who. Is she the one who upset Serena?
We don't know.
Well, then how am I supposed to know? If you don't know what picture you're putting on, how am I supposed to know? She looks like she's seen a ghost. and she looks like she needs some dental work.
I hope I don't mess up juggling this one tennis ball.
Okay. Do we have another?
Last one.
Please, sir, may I have another? Oh, God. Really?
All right.
No, go back to it.
The black hole.
Go back to it.
Kobe?
All right.
The black hole.
I'm really a preschool teacher.
Kobe ranked number 93 by ESPN.
Kobe? Yeah, I saw that. Kobe ranked number 93, the 93rd best player in the NBA. I think they're out of their minds. When Kobe's healthy, he's still one of the best players in this league. And I believe if he stays healthy, he will be amongst the league leaders in scores. It might take 50 shots a game, but he'll be amongst the league leaders. He can still play.
Are these more think bubbles than anything else?
I don't know. If you want to go for it.
For me, it's about a think bubble. He's thinking, I'm wondering why I don't have any friends.
I think we know why he doesn't have any friends. I think Kobe doesn't know how to make or keep friends. But I don't know that Kobe cares.
No, probably doesn't.
All right. That was say something stupid, or is that what it was? Say something interesting? Say something interesting. I hope we satisfied that criteria.
After this segment, we're going to have to change it to say something stupid.
Yeah.
He wants to change it to caption this, which is good.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I like that. All right, let's finish up the week and the show with our pick six. And today's category is the top 6 Avalanche players of all time.
Kind of in honor of the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. For me, I'll be perfectly honest. I kind of put together my list based on guys who are known as Avalanche players.
Okay.
Not necessarily the best
I think
Avalanche
I know where you're going.
players of all time.
So let me guess. Ray Bork is not on your list?
No.
He's not on mine either.
No, I would
Because
never
he
put-
wasn't here long enough.
I would never put
Great
Ray
player,
Bork on my list.
Obvious Hall of Fame player, but I don't think of him as an Avalanche player.
Okay. So I could have
By the
very
way, that's the 2-minute warning.
I could have very easily put Chris Drury at number 6 because he was a clutch player. But to me, Alex Tanguay is more synonymous with the Avalanche than is Chris Drury. Plus, in that Game 7, he was spectacular.
Well, we're going to disagree on that one, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Adam Foote, to me, is synonymous with the Colorado Avalanche, but he never went to an All-Star game. Rob Blake is a Hall of Famer, but to me, Adam Foote is more synonymous with the Avs. That's why he's number 5 on my list.
Okay.
Milan Hajduk, whole career with the Colorado Avalanche, scored a ton of goals, won a Stanley Cup. I think the top 3 for both of us in no particular order are going to be the same. Peter Forsberg, great player, imaginative player, tough player, injured player. That's why he's number 3. And you can flip these guys around. Patrick Waugh was the best Colorado Avalanche player of all time, and they never would have won a cup without him. If they had Joe Sakic and no Patrick Waugh, they don't win a title. If they have Patrick Waugh and no Joe Sakic, they may have won a title. Patrick Waugh is the greatest goalie of all time. He's the greatest pure hockey player of all time, certainly at his position. But Joe Sakic is number 1 for me because he played his whole career here. He is Mr. Hockey in this town.
Yeah, you're right. We are going to have the same top 3, but not necessarily in the same order. And my pick 6, I think Rob Blake was here long enough. He was
here 5 years.
Yeah, for me, he was here long enough. Ray Bourque was not. I'm putting Rob
Greatest
Blake in there.
hip checker of all time.
And wonderful. I'm putting Rob Blake in there as number 6. Number 5, I am going Chris Drury.
Go ahead.
Because he scored some of the biggest goals in this franchise's history. They might not have gotten through some of those playoff series in which they won the Stanley Cup if it weren't for Chris Drury getting them there. And the biggest mistake this franchise ever made was trading him. Number 4, Adam Foote, as solid a defenseman as I've ever seen. Just a rock. Adam Foote was a rock. And he was here for a long, long time, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, by the way. Number 3 is Peter Forsberg for all the reasons you stated, and I flip Patrick Waugh and Sakic for the reason you said.
Right.
And that is, if Joe Sakic is here, without Patrick Waugh, I don't know that they ever win a cup.
Right.
Without Patrick Waugh, they don't win a cup.
I'm going to can I change my list in this regard? I'm going to take Alex Tanguay off my list and put on Pierre Lacroix.
That's pretty good. Built some pretty darn good teams.
I mean, after the lockout, he was kind of lost. Pre-lockout, when he had money to spend, making deals, former agent, he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, they didn't deal well once the league went to a salary cap.
Nope.
But before that,
Great.
Pierre was as good as it gets. In fact, I asked about him the other day. He's living in Las Vegas, and he's in pretty good health.
That's good.
Which is good to hear. All right, that's it for the show. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Are you doing radio this afternoon?
I am. I go on in an hour. Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1340, me and Zach Fogg. And then I'm going to go home and go see the movie Pan with my wife and my daughters. My son goes to Arapahoe's homecoming game.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got a big weekend. One tweet? Yeah. All right, let's see what it says. Oh, that's very nice.
That's great.
Happy birthday, Eric Goodman.
I didn't know my father's handle was G the producer.
47 years old. That man right there. Send all your gifts to Mile High Sports Radio.
I'm going to try out this 47 thing for 1 year.
It's a good idea.
And if it doesn't work well, I'm going to go to 48.
Talk to me. I can tell you what to do at 47. All right, that's it. If you want to see any of the show, the whole show or parts of the show, go to denverpost.com and watch a clip. And go to the bottom of the clip and sign up for our newsletter. Go to iTunes, listen to our podcast, The Sports Show. What is so funny? Oh, God. The picture behind me? Listen to our podcast at iTunes or go to our YouTube channel at YouTube and put in the keywords The Sports Show. Once again, for Eric Goodman, I'm Les. Woody will be back on Monday, and we'll see you then.